Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Again, it's me in front of the camera because I'm still working on the turtle bills, so these are a bit easier to make. But today we're joined with Charlie, my female Chinese water dragon. She's not too happy. Right on cue, okay. So she's a bit stressed out at the minute because I've gotten her out of her enclosure and she's not used to leaving the shed, so sometimes she's okay with it, sometimes she gets a bit panicked. We'll try and bribe her with some wax worms. They're a treat, so she absolutely loves them. She doesn't have them very often, so see how this goes. Alright, we got her. That took about 5 minutes, but problem is in the shed. Oh, Charlie, no. So, change of plan. So normally Charlie's always on my shoulder in the shed and she's absolutely fine with me. She jumps on my arm and runs around all the time. She's not shy whatsoever. But obviously today bringing her indoors has just freaked her out a little bit, and it leads me to the first point of discussion. We're going to be talking about Chinese water dragons today, and almost all about them, to be honest. A lot of random interesting facts though. And one of the defences Chinese water dragons have is they are able to drop their tails. Now with this, and I've said in a previous video before that they don't grow their tails back, and it's because I've heard a lot of conflicting information, to be honest. So for years and years it's been the case of they drop their tail, it never grows back. But after doing some more research on it and reading a bit closer, it seems that they do grow their tail back, but it depends on the dragon, it depends on the environment and the diet. They don't tend to grow it back to the same extent. So if their tail is around roughly 30 centimeters to begin with, if they lose that 30 centimeters, they may only grow back, say 10 centimeters, for example. Whereas there's been other dragons that will only grow back 2 or 3 centimeters. So it does depend on the environment, the animal, and the diet, and things like that. But for that sake, it is not worth me risking stressing her out. If she's stressed out, she was clearly uncomfortable there, so I've put her back. I'm not risking it. That's one of my ultimate fears, to be honest. Now obviously they do this for predator evasion, so if something's chasing after them or something grabs onto them, they can drop their tail, the rest of the body can get away, and they can live another day. But it is a massive loss of resource and energy to grow that tail back. So they don't do it lightly. They do tend to do it when they really feel like they need to. It is a last resort. Their primary tactic for getting away from predators, and part of the reason they're called Chinese water dragons, is they tend to sit up high in the trees and they love climbing. They tend to spend most of their time up there. And if something scares them, say a bird overhead or maybe something else coming towards them, maybe a rival trying to claim their territory, they'll jump straight out the tree, and they tend to sit on branches that are above water. So this way they can jump straight out the tree, land in water, and swim away. And they are very, very capable swimmers. What they do is they get their arms and their legs and they tuck them in close, and they kind of move like a snake, and they just seamlessly go through the water. It's amazing to see. I'd love to get it on film one day. And it's part of the reason Charlie's enclosure has an aquarium inside it. And hopefully I'll be expanding that soon, and we can hopefully get some really good footage of her swimming. Now, as I say, they are adept at climbing, which is why she has a large or tall enclosure, an arboreal enclosure, because they're arboreal lizards. As I said, they spend most of their time in trees, and it's their razor sharp claws that allow them to do that. A lot of the time when handling Charlie, I tend to wear a hoodie for the pure sake of the sleeves, because she doesn't mean to. She'll just be sitting there gripping onto me, but if she loses grip and slides at all, straight away it cuts me. Every single time. I've had so many lines and streaks down me just because she's sitting there. She's not trying to hurt me in any way, she's just gripping. but their claws are razor sharp, which means they can scale trees, rocks, almost anything so easily. They make it look so effortless. And they pretty much just run vertically up the tree. Now if it's a rival or something they feel like they might be able to take, what they'll often tend to do is they'll puff their throat out. So they'll extend their throat and make it look larger, which tells the other animal, one, don't mess with me, and two, it also makes them, as their own, look a bit bigger themselves. So it makes them look as like more of a threat, as a you don't want to deal with this. You don't want this fight. It's the same way when two people walk up to each other ready to fight, they'll often puff their chests at each other just to, hey, I'm bigger than you. But in the wild it tends to be in a much more serious manner. I suppose it's not necessarily a defense, but it's very similar to chameleons. So Chinese water dragons have somewhat control over their chromatophores. Now if you don't know what a chromatophore is, it's essentially how animals operate and display their coloration. So chromatophores are the reason, for example, fish at night tend to dull their colours, because there's no point wasting that energy if it can't be seen. If the colours can't be seen, the chromatophores will tighten up and it will dull down all the colours, so it's less energy wasted, because obviously they want to retain every bit of energy they can get their hands on, because any that goes to waste could potentially be a risk to their life in the wild, because they don't know when the next food source is coming along. And what this does in water dragons, so the reason I'm linking this to chameleons is because they're not fully in charge of them, and it's not a case of camouflaging where they can change colour whatever they want. It's very much based on their mood. So when Charlie's extremely happy and the temperatures are perfect, she's been well fed, she's bright green, she's absolutely glowing green. When, like just now, when I had her out and she was a bit irritated, she dulled her colours down, and that was partly to tell me she's not happy. One, she's dulling her colours down so she doesn't stand out. Two, darker colours could to some extent be perceived as a threat. Now they can get stressed out to the point that there's pretty much no conceivable green left to be seen on them. It's quite interesting. It's obviously not good because it means they're stressed out, but it's interesting that they're capable of doing that in the first place. Charlie at the minute is quite dull anyway because she's currently shedding, so right now there's not her full colours to show off, but I'll pull a previous clip to show you the full coloration that she's normally at. On that note, her Viv hopefully will be getting an upgrade soon, because it is a nice size, but it used to be fully planted, like I'll show you now. But Charlie's managed to kill off a lot of the plants, and some of them, to be honest, I just didn't plant properly. I made a mistake. I thought I was planting them correctly, but I wasn't, so she is, like pretty much everyone else, due an upgrade, and that will be coming soon, hopefully, after the turtle build's sorted. Now with Chinese water dragons in captivity, and the reason I've got the netting sealed to the front of the glass, is they're a bit of a strange one. They don't seem to properly perceive glass as for what it is. So often with Chinese water dragons, and it's very, very common, is if they see, say, some bugs moving the other side, or if they just want to go in that direction anyway for whatever reason, they'll rub their face against the glass constantly, trying to get through it, because realistically they don't understand what it is, so they're just constantly rubbing and rubbing, trying to find, I suppose, a point of exit, a point they can go through, because in their eyes there's nothing there. What's stopping me? Why can't I go through? So that's why I've got the netting on the front glass, to let her know that this is an actual object, you can't walk through this. And she does spend a lot of the time climbing up the netting, so it's also another point of climbing, which is great. But the problem with this is they nose rub so much, and if you Google it, you see some of the pictures I'm on about, they actually start to wear their face down to the point that it fully starts pushing back. And it's almost like they're sanding their front nose off, and it's absolutely horrible. and it's one of the biggest issues a lot of keepers have when keeping water dragons. As you can see, the netting's done an absolutely amazing job, and Charlie has never suffered from this. I've had her, what, 4 or 5 years now? Which is disappointing to say because they tend to live between 10 and 20 years in captivity. She's doing really well, but this does mean she could potentially be roughly halfway through her life, depending what her maximum age ends up being. Hopefully she'll get closer to the 15 or 20 year mark though, so she'll be around a lot longer. Chinese water dragons make absolutely amazing pets, and for years and years they've been an absolute dream animal of mine. And the day I saw her in the reptile shop, I knew straight away that I wasn't going to miss my opportunity. So there will be more videos on Charlie. There's still a lot more to talk about as far as their anatomy goes and their behaviour and keeping them in general, and my experiences with her. But for now, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I am going to go carry on with the turtle build. I've got a day off, and I've also got 2 days scheduled holiday next week, so I can fully cram working on the turtle build, so hopefully that will be with us soon. But otherwise, thank you for your patience, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.